All right, what I'm gonna do today is take a look at a stack of R&B albums. This is 90s up to the early 2000s. And this era of R&B music, I really love. It means a lot to me. The stuff they're making now, the artists that I like aren't putting out albums I feel are up to snuff. New R&B artists, they're just not speaking my language. I can't get into it. I'll hear the odd track, but I've never heard a full album that's really convinced me to buy it. But I'm going to look at some of my favorite old ones and we'll get started. So this is one of my favorite albums of all time. This is Eternal by the Isley Brothers. So the Isley Brothers were a soul group going back to the 50s, if you can believe that. And they had a million big hits. Then I found maybe through the 90s, they're kind of more known for doing guest appearances with R&B, different hip-hop acts. And I feel like this album in 2001 really invigorated their career. It was a large group of brothers, but by this point, it had dwindled down to Ronald, the singer, and Ernie, the guitar player. And this contained Contagious, which was a big hit with R. Kelly and a really popular video. So this, again, reinvigorated their career. And this is an excellent album. There are a couple skips, but you got Move Your Body, one of my favorite songs of all time. Also has Raphael Sadiq on it, who's on a couple songs here. I already mentioned Contagious. I love Warm Summer Night, Just Like This, Secret Lover, Eternal, and Ernie's Jam, which is almost an instrumental. There's a little bit of singing at the beginning and then just extended guitar soloing by Ernie. I always love the style. And so that's 8 tracks out of 13 being complete masterpieces to me. And that's a really good batting average for an R&B album, in my opinion. This album brings me back a lot of memories. I had a couple friends who were really into it, and I think they thought it was kind of funny. Probably weren't into it for that long. But, I still remember riding around the car to it and having some fun like that. And this was when I met my wife. So obviously a lot of memories there. She likes this album too, and I'll always have that one. Okay, we're gonna go back to 94, 95. This is Rated Next by Next. Overall, I don't think this is a great album, but there's a couple standout tracks, and of course this contains Too Close, which has to have been their biggest hit. And there's just something about that song. I'll never get tired of it. I remember when I first heard that, I was probably like 13, and I hated R&B, I hated hip hop, but I just couldn't help it. Whenever that song came on the TV, I just watched the whole video. Maybe it was the dancers, I don't know. But yeah, when I talk to people these days, you bring up Too Close, and they're like, yeah, that song, I forgot about that. Or that song, I remember it, it's awesome. Okay, this is Still Ghetto by Jaheim. This came out in 2002, and I remember his album before this. I forget what it was called, but it had a song called Could It Be, and a couple other tracks on there. That was a good album. But this one here, I think I like just as much. What are the ones on here? Fabulous, Let's Talk About It, and Me and My Bee. Those are the best tracks on here. Jaheim, he always had a great voice, and I lost track of his career, but I think he's still out there doing his thing. Aaron Hall. This is called The Truth. So Aaron Hall was part of an R&B group called Guy, and I had a couple Guy albums, I don't know where they are, but he was the main singer. And I think he's only put out 2 soul albums in the 90s, and that was about it. And it's a shame, because Aaron Hall was an extremely talented singer, has some great songs. My favorite one on here was probably I Miss You, which I think was a hit, but it's kind of a touching song and brings me back. Okay, so now we're going to talk about R. Kelly for a bit. R. Kelly, I have no problem saying, is not a good person. You know, especially like when I make like metal videos and stuff, definitely some sketchy individuals, maybe some sketchy beliefs. I got a high tolerance for a lot of that stuff, but I feel with R. Kelly, there's really no question that he's just, he was up to no good. I can't deny he is one of the most talented R&B artists of all time. I have 3 of his albums, and this is 12 Play, which I think many people consider to be his masterpiece. Not his best selling, but the most high quality album. Your Body's Calling, It's Like Magic, Bump and Grind, we all remember that. Homie Lover Friend, I like. You know, this whole album, I can't deny it's a 10 out of 10 R&B album. Summer Bunnies, Back to the Hood of Things. It's just amazing. It's hard to put it on anymore. Maybe a couple songs on a mixtape, but you can't really support this guy anymore. This is a self-titled album, almost as good as 12 Play. Kind of an underrated album. I'm sure it sold well, but I just don't see it referenced a lot. You remind me of something that was a big hit. Baby, 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 Baby is a good one. Down Low with Ronald Isley. Thank God It's Friday, that's one of my favorites. Religious Love. Another good one from R. Kelly. TP2.com. This was the last one I got from him, and that came out on Jive in 2000. Not as good as those albums I just looked at, but several standout tracks on here. Those being R&B Thug, I Wish, Feeling on Your Booty, and just one more I'm forgetting. The intro's pretty good too, TP2.com. All right, Tony, House of Music. Tony were a R&B group from Oakland. So you have Raphael Sadiq on vocals, you have Dwayne Wiggins on guitar, and one other guy, forgive me, I forget what he does. The big song on here is Let's Get Down with DJ Quick. DJ Quick produces it, he raps on it, it's a masterpiece of a song. Thinking of You, the opener, I like. Still a Man. Not as good as our old stuff, but a great album. So speaking of their old stuff, I do have a compilation of Tony's greatest hits. And this has Little Walter, It Never Rains in Southern California, Whatever You Want, Lay Your Head on My Pillow, and it even closes out with Let's Get Down from House of Music. So moving on from Tony, the main singer was Raphael Sadiq, and I always liked his guest appearances on other R&B and hip-hop artist albums. But this album here, Raphael Sadiq as Ray Ray. I was really looking forward to this album, and although I have no major complaints, I did think it was a bit of a disappointment. The only song on here that I loved was number 7, Detroit Girl. Number of years after that, Raphael Sadiq released The Way I See It, and I didn't really like this one. It seems to me that I'm better off listening to Raphael Sadiq in small doses, but he's still an amazing talent, amazing voice. This is The Life by Genuine. My wife and I used to put this on a lot when we were teenagers. But, yeah, I haven't played that one in a while. You got D'Angelo, Voodoo. What year was this? Looks like 1998, 1999. D'Angelo was a great artist. His album before this, Brown Sugar, I don't have that on CD, but I think that is a masterpiece and a superior album to Voodoo. But Voodoo's good as well. It's a little bit more experimental, a little harder to get into. And I feel like he would have a very long, maybe even like a almost 20-year hiatus between albums. I think he had some issues during that time. His most recent album, again, came out several years ago. It got a lot of high praise. I don't know if his music changed or my tastes have changed, but it just didn't do much for me. This is Love Crimes by Rough Ends. This came out 2000 on Sony. Some good tracks on here. You got No More, which was the single and the standout track. You have the closer, Cuban Links 2000, which has Ghostface Killah and Raekwon from Wu-Tang Clan. And yeah, Where Does Love Go From Here? The second one, that's pretty good as well. Joe. This one's called Ain't Nothing Like Me. When I think of Joe, I always think of his first hit single, which was called what was that called? What was Joe's song called? I Want to Know. That was on before this. This album's actually my wife's. I grabbed that from her collection. She doesn't have that many albums, so that it kind of sits in my CD pile. Then you got Bilal, Firstborn Second. Again, I heard a lot of high praise from this. Some of my friends at work said this was an album I like. 2001 Interscope. Yeah, it was one of those ones. It didn't do much for me. But that's it for my somewhat recent R&B albums that I own on CD. I got some classics on some older stuff on vinyl and CD, maybe even some cassettes. Take a look at that some other time. Thanks for watching.